Hello, have you had a good meal today? I had a good meal of nasi lemak just now. I can still smell the sweet aroma of my nasi lemak with sambal ikan bilis. But have you ever thought of what happens to the food after we take in our first mouthful? The act of taking food into the mouth is called ingestion. Ingestion. After the food enters the mouth, digestion takes over. Digestion is the process of breaking down food into the digestive tract to obtain nutrients from the food. These nutrients are then absorbed and used to provide the energy that is needed by our body. Now, let's look at the human digestive system. The human digestive system, or sometimes called the gut or alimentary canal, is about 9 meters long. The alimentary canal consists of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestines, large intestines, rectum, and anus. The liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas are the accessory organs connected by the duct to the alimentary canal. Well, that's the liver, that's the gallbladder, and finally the pancreas. Food passes from the mouth into the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestines, the large intestines, and excreted via the anus. During the journey through the digestive tract, a lot of interesting processes and reactions take place. Now, let's start our journey with the mouth. Food is chewed so that it can be broken down into smaller pieces. It is then mixed with saliva, which is secreted by the salivary glands. Saliva contains mucus that helps to lubricate the food. It also contains an enzyme called amylase. Amylase breaks down starch in the food into sugar called maltose. The chewed food is then formed into a food ball or bolus and swallowed into the esophagus. How does the food move down the esophagus? Food moves down the esophagus through a process called peristalsis. Peristalsis is a process where the muscular wall of the esophagus contracts and expands alternately. Food moves down the esophagus smoothly because the esophagus is lubricated with mucus to aid movement of the bolus towards the stomach. No digestion takes place in the esophagus. I wonder why. Because there are no digestive enzymes secreted in the esophagus. No digestive enzyme in the esophagus, so no digestion takes place. Simple, isn't it? Now, let's move on to the stomach. When the food enters the stomach from the esophagus, its presence stimulates the gastric juice from the stomach wall. The stomach wall secretes the gastric juice. The secreted gastric juice will then mix with the food. Gastric juice contains hydrochloric acid and 2 other enzymes, renin and pepsin. Hydrochloric acid kills the microorganisms in the food. It also neutralizes the alkaline property of saliva and therefore stops the action of amylase enzyme. The enzymes pepsin and renin also digest the food. The enzyme pepsin digests all the protein in the food. While the enzyme renin reacts on milk. The stomach contracts and relaxes periodically to churn the food so that it mixes well with the gastric juice. Food stays in the stomach for a few hours until it becomes like a thick soup called chyme. This chyme is then released into the small intestine. The first part of the small intestine is called the duodenum. Bile from the gallbladder and pancreatic juice from the pancreas flow into the duodenum via their ducts. Bile contains bile salts that emulsify fats. Emulsification means fats are broken down into tiny droplets. You see, bile is alkaline in nature, so bile would form alkaline surroundings in the duodenum. The alkaline surroundings will naturally neutralize the acid from the stomach. The pancreas produces pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice contains three types of enzyme: pancreatic amylase, pancreatic protease, and pancreatic lipase. The enzyme pancreatic amylase digests starch into maltose. The enzyme protease digests peptones into amino acids. The enzyme lipase digests fats into fatty acids and glycerol. The lower part of the small intestine is called ileum. Ileum produces intestinal juice which consists of the enzymes called maltase, sucrase, lactase, and peptidase. Maltase reacts on maltose to form glucose. Sucrase reacts on sucrose to form glucose and fructose. Lactase reacts on lactose to form glucose and galactose. Peptidase reacts on peptides to form amino acids. Now, let's move on to absorption. The small intestine is about 6 meters long. The inner wall of the small intestine bears millions of tiny finger-like projections called villi. One villus is about 1 millimeter long and has plenty of blood capillaries. Digestion of food in the alimentary canal produces smaller soluble molecules such as simple sugar, amino acids, fatty acids, and glycerol. The simple sugar, amino acids, fatty acids, and glycerol pass through the villus and enters the bloodstreams. These substances are then circulated to all the body cells and used in metabolism. We have discussed absorption. Now let's move on to reabsorption of water and defecation. Our body allows approximately up to 10 liters of food and drinks in the alimentary canal daily. So much, right? But only 1 liter or less reaches the large intestines. You see, at the end of the ileum, all that is remained are some water, indigestible food materials, and millions of bacteria. These elements are then passed into the large intestines. In the large intestines, water is reabsorbed into the body, and the elements that are left behind are removed from the body through the anus. What are good eating habits? Good eating habits means taking food in the correct quantity and quality at the right time intervals. We should eat good, nutritious food so that we can have enough energy to carry out our daily activities. Examples of good eating habits include eating nutritious food according to the recommended individual requirements and avoiding junk food that contain a lot of fats, sugar and additives. Making sure that the food we eat is fresh. Spoiled fruits and vegetables may cause digestive problems or food poisoning. Making sure that the food is clean. Contaminated food contains bacteria and may cause diseases. Drinking sufficient amounts of water, 2 to 3 liters per day. Now, let's move on to health problems related to eating habits. We should always practice good eating habits and be critical about our choice of food. Food manufacturers have their own ways and manners to market their products. They use stylish packaging techniques with interesting labels and attractive advertising gimmicks to catch consumers' attention. These techniques can be misleading, so we must be wise when choosing what to put into our mouths. In order to make a good choice, we should focus on the following: the nutrient content of the food, the freshness of the food, the presence of food additives such as flavoring agents, coloring agents, and preservatives that can be harmful to our health. Wow, we've learned quite a lot today. I feel like my head is getting bigger with knowledge and I'm enjoying it. Well, we've come to the end of our program. I hope you've enjoyed the program. Till next time, thank you and goodbye.